confirm that one. But yeah, listen, catfish would be a delicacy compared to some of the stuff they eat, like snakes and bats and spiders and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I found that video last night. Remember I mentioned about that? And then people are wondering why there's, diseases going around. And that virus coming, from China, which now is turning out is all over the place. And they still don't have anything to cure it. I guess the only cure is your own body. If you have a good immune system, you're going to survive it. If you have a weakened immune system or you're an older person, you might not survive it. And a lot of them haven't. It seems like you mentioned last night, I think there is a cover-up of how many people have contracted the virus in China and how many people perished already from it.
Yeah, because the one nurse, she had a mask on in the video. It's kind of like a whistleblower that I reported on last night. She said it's not 90, it was more like 90,000, and they've got whole cities of 10 million on lockdown or quarantine, whatever you want to say. But yeah, and the other news report I did too, is it a coincidence that city Wuhan that's where ground zero where it originated from, and that's also where that lab is that supposedly had that there too. So did it escape somehow or get out into the public, or there's a lot going on here, Gary.
Well, I mean, maybe they had an accident in the lab and they didn't realize it, and maybe some of the lab technicians, or maybe they knew about it, they kept their mouth shut and they got infected. And then all it takes is, it's really scary when you think about, even like The Walking Dead, right? Now we know that zombies don't and can't exist. Well, can they? Could there be a disease, a virus later on? It actually destroys most of your functions of your brain and you become a walking garbage can where all you want to do is eat and you don't care what it is you eat. Okay, so that I guess maybe it isn't so far-fetched about, zombies when you really think about it. But here's the thing. The amount of diseases is out there. And then it seems like people right now are like, I don't know, like the guy I sent you the video clip. I watched that last night, and seriously, my wife came in after the show with dinner, and I looked at the plate, and I couldn't even eat it. I just lost my hunger of all. I'll tell you what it is. It's disgusting. A guy's taking a live rat. He's picking it up. He smiles. He opens his mouth, and he chomps the head off of it. And then not just chomps the head off, you hear the crunching as he's eating the skull and the brains.
Yeah, and Gary, it's not like these TV shows where it's a challenge and they got to eat this rough stuff. This guy he's loving this. Like that song, loving it. He's really loving eating this stuff.
I don't know if he really loved eating it. I think maybe he was just showing, hey, I'm macho. I can eat this disgusting thing, because let's face it, right now, a lot of countries are saying it's disgusting how, if this virus came from eating bats or snakes, they're not sure which one, but they know it's a connection between the two, that this virus, then it migrated into us humans from eating that. I don't know. It's scary. So why would somebody, take a rat, for example, and start consuming it raw, alive? The same way with a lot of other things. You're really asking for something to happen with you, your family members, everybody around you. Look at the guy we talked about the other day that had a migraine for 10 years.
I've seen that story.
And he had a tapeworm in his brain. Now, he had to ate something that was either undercooked or something maybe he shouldn't have ate, or who knows. But to get a tapeworm, I've never heard of a tapeworm. Well, I've heard tapeworms in the brains, but they usually discover it. To go 10 years with a tapeworm eating your brain. I wonder if the guy was a CPA.
I don't know, but
I sure wouldn't. I sure hope he wasn't a lawyer. I would not want him to represent me. Maybe he works at the IRS. He doesn't. You don't need much of a brain for that.
He probably was looking at a lot of red.
I'm sorry. I take that back. You need a lot of brains to be working with the IRS.
He probably found a lot of holes in his cases if he was, a lawyer. But yeah, that was amazing. I did read over that. I happened to see that story yesterday about that. And then you were talking about the zombie thing to humans. That could happen. I'm going to tell you how it's going to happen if it happens, and I can see it happening. It's going to happen with these laboratory-produced drugs with chemicals, and because that one drug, Flakka, I've seen videos and documentaries of these people on that drug, Gary. They literally turn into out of their mind zombies. I mean, people will run full speed, 15 mile an hour, head first right into van windows and go right in there and just keep on going, and they'll attack people. They even look like zombies. They're so out of their mind. I mean, it alters your brain so bad, it's scary. That's one of the scariest things I've seen. And this wasn't a one. These were many people doing that. And then back to that rat. The Black Plague was because of the fleas on the rats were biting everybody, carrying parasites in them. That was given the Black Plague, which killed how many millions of people? 10, 15, 20% of the world's population or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So. Yeah, so fast forward to now you got a guy eating a rat raw. Lord knows how many parasites and germs is on that rat. That's just, you're really playing with fire.
And fleas and all. I mean, this in all kinds of, yeah. And the thing is alive. That makes it even more disgusting, And then I felt sorry for the rat, too, to be honest with you. But, again, because, rats are good drivers.
they are, and...
To people that don't understand why I just said that, the government spent over $1 million to do a study if rats can learn to drive these little miniature toy cars. And they studied these rats. They adapted to driving these little cars, getting in, starting them, and driving them. And they even showed road rage, with each other. So, I mean, here's a rat that learned to drive. Hey, we don't need these pilotless, cars and trucks that are computer driven. Just get a rat in it and let the rat do the driving.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Put them in a cage.
Yeah, if people was going to eat rats, listen, I've seen so many rats in New York City. They got outnumber the people. I don't know, 1,000 to 1, and there's 10 million people in New York City. There's a lot of rats. Can you imagine if the rats turned on us like all these snakes I keep reading about in the headlines everywhere? It
is, something is going. I think it's earth changes. I think temperatures are changing. So, in a lot of these areas where these snakes are appearing, normally they go dormant that time of the year. But certain areas of the country are cold. Some of the areas of the countries are, warmer than normal. I think it is changing what some of these critters are doing. Their habits, the seasons where they go in and go dormant. They're not going dormant. I mean, just like the other night, I think it was you, or did I read the article about a guy and his family in Kansas? They go home, they sit on a couch, and they find a 6-foot boa constrictor curled up in their, inside of their couch.
Yeah, I seen that story today, and the weird part about that, and it wasn't a very long story, but the weird part, they had that couch for like 6 years, and they hadn't bought anything. They couldn't figure out how that snake got in that couch.
Well, got in the house somehow, and then figured the couch was a nice. Could you imagine you're sitting there, and those snakes have teeth, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you imagine you're sitting there watching, reruns of All in the Family late at night, drinking your Budweiser beer or whatever beer you drink, and all of a sudden the 6-foot snake comes crawling on your lap to get warm.
Yeah, that's a good point. They like to get warm. That's right. They like to cuddle up next to you. Another thing those snakes like to do, they just like to rear out and just bite you. So if you didn't know it was there, and it come up between the cushions, like, the one that you're leaning against and the one you're sitting on, and it just decides going to, latch on to you, could you imagine the shock of that? You're not expecting that. You don't think there's a snake, a 6-foot python in your couch in Kansas.
No. Yeah, especially in Kansas. But you know what? I was reading an article. Do you know if all the spiders decided to rebel against humans, they could eat every single human on Earth within a year?
Yes, I actually read that same article. We must read the same stuff, but I read that. That is amazing. Another thing I seen was the Goliath tarantula. Have you ever seen one of those, Gary?
That's the huge ones.
They are literally the size of, listen, they could eat a little puppy. I mean, they're not messing around. These things are like little tanks. They're bigger than your hand. They're twice the size of your hand. I was amazed at the picture of those things.
Oh, yeah. Well, not just that. So we got to worry about these snakes. Now we have to worry about, spiders, all that. But now, again, let's get back to, something in a lab. If something would create zombies, it could be a lot of different things. A virus, like I just said. I was reading the article the other night. Mm-hmm. Saying that some viruses can actually attack certain parts of your brain and actually get you to be nothing more than a zombie. You wouldn't know who you are. You wouldn't recognize people. You wouldn't be able to talk. But because you have your stem brain, part of your brain, you still have your motor function capability, and you would have, I'm hungry.
Right. You would, boy, oh boy, you're right about that stuff. And I'm telling you, there's some stuff in labs with these chemicals you can make these drugs, plus with germs and all these other things. I can definitely see it happening. Not like so much like you see in the movies. And that's another thing. There's two kinds of zombies. You got the voodoo kind, the kind where you got to fill the mouth with salt and sew the lips shut. And then you got the other ones that are, they're out of their mind, and all they want to do is just destroy and eat your brains all the time.
Now, or your intestines that look like hot dogs and one of the zombie movies. But, you have to look at, maybe down the road we could run into a situation like that. These viruses, right now, states and cities and all this stuff are running out of masks. People are running to the store and buying, masks to put over their face, because if they go out in public, they don't want to be around people without a mask. I don't blame them. I told my wife last night, I said, honey, where you work at, you have all these executives come in and they're flying on planes constantly. I said, I'm worried about you. And she goes, no, you're worried about yourself if I get it. I go, yeah, naturally I'm going to worry about myself too, but I'm worried about you. I mean, that's the thought of my mind. This virus is going to really start taking a hold. And what I read, when we get about another week into it, we'll find out how well it's taking hold. I got a funny feeling we're not seeing the actual numbers of people that are coming down with it. I know it's popping up. Every country is having reports of it, and different states now are having different reports of this virus.
Let me give you a little prelude of the research I've done so far. Just
okay,
from what
you need to hold that.
Okay.
You need to get that clock right in front of you. Okay, we need to take a break, and during the break, I want you give about a minute and then call back in, because I got to get a refill of my tea first. So anyway, we'll be back in 3 minutes. You're listening to me, Gary Anderson, on Night Dreams Talk Radio. And don't forget, tonight, we have Michael Lee Hill. He's going to talk about his encounter at a lake with a UFO experience. So, hey, stay tuned tonight.